Well, here we are on a Friday, and I have a lot of stuff to talk about that may and may not have much to do with religion. One of the things that I want to talk about today is about the idea that uh, we change, we grow, we mature. That happens a lot after we leave fundamentalist religion. I just have to throw it out there because we can't stay in the same spot. If we stay in the same spot, just think about how miserable that would be. Okay? Just bear with me a second. I got to introduce myself just in case somebody strays here, doesn't know who the heck I am. I'm Suzanne Tidkemeyer. I used to write for a place called Pathos for over 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering. Now I'm just doing my own thing and I'm about ready to release my own book, which this kind of ties in with that, which kind of ties in with community wide things I'm seeing happen. So I'm going to talk about all that today, stuff in the community and how we change and mature. And I'm not the most mature. I'm still not the most mature person on the planet, okay? Because I believe in having a good time. I got the Le Bon Temps Roulette going on from my Cajun ancestors, from my father and stuff. So let me just write a couple disclaimers. I steal Renelle Smith's one because Renelle is a very wise woman, many times more mature than I, and she manages to sometimes walk through some pretty horrendous things in her personal life, I think, without it bleeding into her wonderful videos. Okay. Renelle likes to say, do your own research, form your own opinions. I believe the same thing. Do your own research, form your own opinions. You should anyway. Do not go real life on anybody I'm talking about here. Nobody needs that to happen. We're watching all the fallout going on from dancing for the devil and the various Reddit boards and things. And that's just ridiculous going real life noise. A lot of it is. And those of us that do videos or write or do whatever have really got some pushback from that. Me, I just shoot them right to Jerks for Jesus and just start making fun of them because that's how I am hardwired. But do not go real life with anybody. Don't harass anybody. Don't even be ugly to anybody in the comments. It's just not worth it. It really is not. And I'm definitely feeling the peace, love, and om this morning after listening to Toby Mac's new song, Nothing Sweeter, and going back and listening to Faithfully, which he just won an award for that. I love both of those songs. Then again, I have loved a lot of the stuff that he's done through the years. So Toby is a perfect example of what I want to talk about today, both in our community, in the larger Christian community, and in the tight little weird world of evangelical town that I talk about many times. Non-denominational, high demand religious organizations, or talk with churches, totalitarian, authoritative church organizations. That's my specialty. That's my jam. Anyway, so this morning while I'm blissing out listening to new music describing the attributes of God, which I need because I am too feisty and ornery without God. If you think that I'm immature and feisty and ornery now, you should see me if I don't pray and I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I get real wound. Um, so I'm listening, I'm thinking about stuff, and I realized it was the anniversary of a friend's kind of disaster, bad day. It's an anniversary for them that is a bad anniversary. And I've had this person as a friend off and on for a while. Not my favorite person in this whole world, but somebody to have a lot of compassion for because I can see who they are and what they're going through. So I went to send them a message on X, which I hate, and discovered I was blocked. I was kind of mad at first. I was like, what? did she block me? I've done nothing to her. In fact, I've been supportive of her, been nothing but supportive, and she's going to pay me back by blocking me? Mm-mm. So I was preparing to put her on blast this morning, and I was like, yeah, who cares? So you got blocked. You don't need people in your life who are going to be offended by your take on religion or anything else. And when I started thinking about it that way, I was able to go, oh, yeah, you're right. Bless her. Let her have best life ever. Just go on. There were some things she had said and did that were kind of squishy anyway. So I'm reading a book right now that kind of plays into all of this too. It's written by Adam Nimoy, the son of Leonard Nimoy. And the book is about his journey into and out of drugs, but especially out. He talks about Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program, which is there's a lot of good things to be had there. I've always found that Al-Anon is very, very useful if you have family members that struggle with that stuff and you're struggling to handle them without flying apart. Like on my birthday earlier in the week when I was having family members crashing my special day, demanding I do X, Y, and Z. No, I started to fly to pieces, but did the first thing they tell you in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is to just sit and center yourself and think about things. Don't say that first thought in your brain. And that comes in very handy for religion. It came in handy this morning with this gal. It just is one of those things you should be doing. And the book is actually fascinating. It's got a lot of really good wisdom to it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a book review of it because I think it's excellent. I think there is a lot of overlap between Alcoholics Anonymous, Al Anon, Narcotics Anonymous, all the different groups like that, and recovery from religion. Beginning to wonder, and I started researching it, if we should put together a group called specifically Religion Anonymous or Religious Anonymous, because it is very much like an addiction when you get into certain kinds of very hostile, very insular, very, I don't want to say the word CULT, but very CULT like, because I don't think very many of those fall completely under the bite model, Dr. Stephen Hassan's bite model. If you look at that, you're going to see some similarities, but it's not going to be 100%. So I think we need to really be careful who and what we call that name. Okay, so that's part of my rant. One of the things that struck me this week while I've been preparing my book, I'm trying to write the last chapter now. I need to write a summarization, wrap up, and edit out one or two little things I think in there because it's not my ambition to hurt anybody when writing this. I just want to share my own weird little journey and not harm anybody in the process. So I've had to change names in some circumstances to accomplish that, but I think I've managed to finally hit upon the exact right note with this. And it's taking some time. It's taken blood, sweat, and tears and beyond. So the book is called With Strange Fire. It's called With Strange Fire because we started out this sweet little country church. And after so many months of and years of the church just drifting, we ended up in a far land with strange fire, a place none of us could recognize. It wasn't anything like this sweet little Bible church that we all joined. It was absolutely nothing like that. It was just bizarre. And the Bible talks about strange fire and how that'll get you killed if you start offering strange fire unto the Lord. So you really don't want to end up in a place of strange fire. It's a sad place to be. And again, I think that AA technique of just sitting with your feelings and thinking and feeling who you are and what you think about things is an important part of the process of recovery, of deconstruction and reconstruction. It's a very important part. And Rome wasn't built in a day. We weren't built in a day. I mean, so why would we think If it took us X amount of years to get somewhere, why would we think that we would be able to process the negativity and get out of there in any less time? I don't know. We're all here for life. Whatever. We're just gonna go with it as best we can, figure it out. So while I'm looking at, doing my book and doing everything else and starting to do the formatting and deciding if I want photos in it, what, all kinds of things, I stumble across an old journal of mine from back towards the end of my time with my old church. And I found something that I just have to talk about it and read you bits and pieces of it because it's all kinds of freaky. That's all I can say. It looks like freaky from here. It sounds very ridiculous and immature from here too. So I'm hoping that my snickering, immature little self actually learned a little bit of something, something. I learned not to do these things. I learned how ridiculous this was. So I'm going to read you this because I'm not going to publish this anywhere, I don't think, because it's just so bizarre. This weekend has been a real series of ups and downs. Now, I will change names here too. Saturday morning, I slept in quite late before going with Jay to hit the Plow and Hearth catalog store. Jay and I are still real good friends. I had to get curtains for child number one, well, and child number two's bedrooms and a few other things to the house. Got child number one a pair of fake suede drapes, thermaline no less, in a pretty caramel color for only $3.99 a panel on curtains that had originally been $65 a panel. Sweet! Nothing for child number two. I couldn't find one thing that would work for her bedroom. Okay, that's pretty normal mama talk. Except for I'm getting ready to take this perfectly normal mama talk to a strange and toxic place. A place where I ended up with strange fire. We had a few more places like the bread outlet store and the fabric store and ended up getting big bargains at each. Funnily enough, we'd been praying before we went shopping that our money would be supernaturally multiplied many times over, and it was. At the fabric store, I asked for a discount because I was rating the rest of the specialty costume fabrics from the Halloween leftovers for flags and banners. And they gave me 50% off just like that, just for asking. I was so surprised, but so glad. The lady working the cash register at the bread store gave us each a discount without us asking at all once we started talking to her. It was odd. The day buzzed with supernatural abundance. Now I have to cut in here. Months before I was leaving my old church, I started having dreams that I was in a place of abundance. Huge, huge, huge abundance. And I was trying to make my pastor and others at the church see the abundance. And they would just go, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Nobody would say, oh, that's amazing. That's supernatural. That's anything. What they did was they would just go, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Like I said, this wasn't too terribly long before I left, maybe 6 months or so. So I was still drinking the Kool-Aid pretty hard at that point. And I'm kind of embarrassed now, but one of the things that's very true with these types of toxic religions is you get into the mindset that, hey, you are God's anointed. Everybody owes you everything, including owing you discounts, even if you don't really need them. Looking back, I'm kind of embarrassed that that was my whole thought process was the bargains. Plowed Hearth, I don't mind getting bargains at because that's their catalog outlet store. I picked up a number of beautiful, wonderful things through the years through there at a huge discount. But that's not me begging for discounts like I was at the fabric store. And we may have said something in the bread store. I can't determine. I have no memory of any of this happening except for buying the suede curtains. And we've talked about this on NLQ too, about the begging for discounts and the begging for freebies. That's a common theme in these types of religions. Back to the silly blog posting. All the shopping was a prelude to why we were really going out anyway. Earlier in the week, Jay had gotten a call from a new Christian she knew from the healing rooms. Someone who had just been baptized who said that immediately after the baptism, he'd been plagued by ugly visions every time he tried to pray inside his house. Jay is a pretty powerful prayer warrior, but she hasn't dabbled much in the other side stuff. She doesn't even have much in the way of a shine. So that's how I got called into this. Okay. Prayer warrior is just one of those generic terms for people who like to pray at the drop of a hat loudly, vociferously, in the middle of public spaces. If they can show off how prayerly they are, or how proud prayer mannered, how holy, how scriptural, they're going to. Now I look at that a whole different way than I did back then. The other thing is I'm talking about shine here. And what do I mean by shine? I mean, you're kind of your sixth sense. People either have it or they don't. You can't really scare that up. You can't manufacture it. You either have it or you don't. Sadly, I have it. I don't always enjoy it. Many times, if I'm seeing things that I don't want to see, it's not any fun. Like the time we were staying at a friend's house and he had bought a house that a lady had died in. The lady was still there and she was mad as hell about what they were doing to her house. So that's what I mean when I say sometimes there's these things I would just rather not see. I see sometimes. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about shine here. My friend does not have that at all. Unfortunately, like I said, I do, and it's not a comfortable thing all the time. Okay, so she called me in because of that. I was known for that. Very long story, very short. It was a powerful being, a triune being that was distinctly non-human, very powerful negativity. It thrives and feeds on negative emotions and responses, and it manifested itself a number of times and hit us with its worst shots, noise, lights, nasty smells. That'll happen if you have something nasty in there you're trying to get rid of, but I don't know that calling us in is what you need to do. I think really what's better is you would probably need to get a shaman to sage the place. That's not a bad idea when you have weird stuff in your house. Okay. Jay and I worked together. As soon as I stepped in the door, I realized it was there and told the man that it had come into his front door via three different people on the same day. That explains the three. Jay had enough shine going on to tell the man exactly which three people who had come to his home for a party recently had carried this thing in. It took 6 hours and things that would look bizarre and shamanistic to the outside world to dislodge this thing and persuade it to move along. No Ouija boards, but lots of purification rituals, some prayer, and some powerful pushing back into the spiritual realm. So, what am I talking about here with rituals? I know a lot of Christians that we used to do this too. You would take anointing oil and you would go around and anoint every doorpost in the house and pray at each room. You would scatter salt to scare off whatever. Sometimes you would burn sage in a seashell. You would burn sage in a seashell. If you had an eagle feather to waft it around, more the better. And you would pray. And while I am not opposed to helping those who are having these problems with their homes. They have something there that they want out. I don't know that we really need to be doing that as Christians unless we're called specifically to do that and we understand a lot about it. I don't think most Christians do this stuff understand much of it. And I can tell you right now, dabbling with this crap and not understanding can really take you down some dark paths. Take you down some really dark paths. And I don't know what this was. And I don't know what we were dealing with, but I think there was a lot of this going on too at the same time. We were extrapolating our own fears, anxieties, and energy into this situation. And I don't know how much of that was us and how much of that was this. Okay, we got home just in time to eat a little dinner and go out to a play that child number two was doing the lights and sounds for. I really wanted to go collapse into the bed because I was exhausted from all of that. But I had to go watch this play instead. Patting myself on the back, martyr baiting over being a mama. I really sucked. Sunday morning, I get up with the happy anticipation that I'm about to go and worship. The thing I live for the most, the thing I was created for. Get dressed, get to church, and we struggle through practice as a worship team. There was so much aggravation and pushback and personality clashes. And there was some small sniping about our leader and about our leadership. And it just distracted us. It let the devil come in. But we were able to push him out by worshiping. Okay, I am again not opposed to worship. I still enjoy worship. If it weren't for the fact that I'm no longer going to church because of my asthma, I would probably be on a worship team somewhere like I have been for many years. But at the same time, I understand enough now that I didn't understand back then that I would not be making all of these assumptions and extrapolations and just weirdness. Okay. Some of that was true, some of it was not, it was me extrapolating. But here's the thing, we're all different people, we're all broken people. We're going to rub up against each other and upset each other and make each other annoyed. That's just how it is. There's nothing demonic or stupid about that. It just is the way it is. We're all wired differently. And I think we need to cut each other grace, like I ended up having to do this morning with the person that cut me off. And then I looked and all of her friends have blocked me too. So it's kind of like there's something going on there, but it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with them. Let them. One of the things that I noticed in Adam's book, Adam Nimoy's book, that blessed me was all the horrible cliches that came out of Alcoholics Anonymous that are absolutely true. One of them is rejected, God protected. Even if you don't believe in God, rejected, you're protected. I'm a big believer in that when people are removed from your life for whatever reason, or maybe they self remove themselves, you don't sweat over it. You don't freak out because it really benefits you in the long run most of the time. They're put there as a stumbling block, which is, well, they're maybe not put there as a stumbling block, but they become the stumbling block in their own weird little way. So just releasing them off to the universe to be whoever they are. It doesn't mean that you stop praying for them or any of that, but it does mean that you don't try to hold together a friendship that is gone. It just is what it is. My favorite saying, my favorite dumb saying. I had to laugh recently. One of my friends was talking about their YouTube crowd telling them all these different buzzwords and things they say. It's true, we all do. You know what cliches are? They're kind of a shorthand way for us to release a complex idea in a simplistic way, like accepting when things are what they are. I say that a lot because I have to remind myself, accept that thing, breathe in, breathe out, move on. And there was another thing I got to pull up and tell you guys that I got from the book about mothers. It just, I can't find it right now, but it said, accept your mother how she is and don't think you're going to change her. That you're there, you put on this planet to love and serve her in your own little ways. I don't know how much I agree with the serve part because there's some mothers out there going to require you to put your entire life on hold in their service, and that doesn't benefit anybody. But it does mean you don't have to fight with your mother about politics or anything else. If she wants to say X, Y, and Z about candidate B or D, you just like let her say her thing and you start writing your shopping list and you totally ignore you don't engage. You don't get upset. And that's the other thing. One of the few things I carried out of my old church that's actually beneficial. I learned not to take offense at a lot of stuff that would normally offend me terribly because as you can tell, frankly, I got a temper. I can release the Kraken with the best of them. But is that wise? Is that loving? No. I try not to ever release the Kraken anymore, even though I sometimes fail miserably because I am human as everybody else. So I don't release my Kraken very easily anymore. And it takes a big circumstance to make that happen for me to break me where I'm doing that. The best you can do is just accept and love people right where they are. Oh my goodness, what was that? What's up in that tree? We just had a whole pile of grapefruits fall for the grapefruit tree that's right in front of my window. That tells me you have some big parrots up there, even if they're being very silent and very naughty. Okay, I'm gonna go start doing a weekly Costa Rica video too, because I have taken a ton of videos now and need to put them up. I need to start sorting through them and putting them up. And I think I'm also going to do a slideshow of various places in Costa Rica. There are a lot of people that do the beaten path stuff. That's one thing I've learned from Reddit. Costa Rica, travel. I was mocking somebody the other day on there because they said they stayed at the Tabacon, which is a hotel in well, not in, it's actually outside of town, outside of La Fortuna, okay, which is the nearest town to the Arnal Volcano Park. And it's an extremely expensive hotel that has lots of hot springs and various things. And it's hardly the only one. There are some really high roller hotels there, and they all have their own hot springs. So I was kind of giggling at somebody else that said they paid $120 a day ahead to go get in the hot springs there. I said, silly, don't you know that you can go right past the Tabacon? You can pull off the road. You can park there on the edge of their property, pay their security guard 2 mil, roughly $4 to watch your car. And if you go down a little step of natural staircase, there you are in a totally free hot springs. And it's not going to be as luxurious as the gringo places by any stretch of the imagination. But I've just developed the taste of the years where like touristy kind of things. I want to talk to the local people. I want to see what the local things are like. So anyway, I was watching this sub, and so many people are doing the extremely gringo stuff, and they're seeing all the resorts with the fake greenery and the fake this and the fake that. I'm just kind of like, why are you doing that? That experience will cost you a ton of money. There are ways to see Costa Rica that aren't that they simply aren't that expensive, and you get to see a lot of different things. Example, there is a waterfall in Bagasis that is you can swim in it. There aren't many waterfalls here that you can swim in, but there are a few. If you go on the backside of that, you don't pay anything. It's whatever you feel like you need to donate to this conservation effort. So I'll always do donate. But it's not like I'm coughing up the money I would cough up at one of the waterfall parks that charges you an arm and a leg to swim in the falls. This is completely free and so worth it. And you take the trail down, and if you have one of the guys guiding you, you can see all kinds of animals and learn all about the local flora and fauna, all the trees. the different things. So that's the Costa Rica thing I'm going to be doing more. I'm going to be looking at more natural and less obvious kind of stuff that tourists don't do that are just wonderful. One of the things I did the other day was I took a chocolate tour with my husband. Now I've taken chocolate tours before in Monteverde and other places and coffee tours as well. And I recommend everybody to do that because it's very interesting to see how they grow the beans for the coffee and all the steps are taken. The coffee is straightforward. Grow the beans, pick the beans, roast the beans, grind the beans, drink the beans. Chocolate, not so much. Chocolate, it's a big process. And you have to harvest the beans. The beans don't taste anything like what you think they would when they're raw. You can actually suck the slimy coating off, and it's delicious. But in order to turn the bean into chocolate, they have to let it ferment in these little boxes they have. And it goes through a lot of processes before they ever roast it. They start grinding it and they make chocolate out of it. I mean, a big process. So I'm all for getting more educated for people seeing what happens to make the chocolate. Well, this tour we went on was a little bit different. It's a smaller chocolatier here. And I'd been meaning to go there, but I knew they didn't have a full chocolate tour. It worked out to be better for me because I'd already done the full chocolate tour and knew exactly how they got to the chocolate part of it. This was delicious because unlike the other one, this was a chocolate tasting. We tasted 30 varieties of chocolate and they were all splendid. And we were served chocolate tea, different kinds of chocolate drinks out of this world. But for me, what the best part of it was, and I wish I'd have had my video camera with me. The best part was, and I was having a real bad walk day, so I had my rollator because I didn't know what it's going to be like there, whether I was going to be able to maneuver with a cane or not. So when they reached a point where they were going to have to take staircases down into the garden, and it's 90% or more humidity outside, I was just like, good, I'm good. I'm going to stay here because I don't do staircases well. Well, I sat up there in the tasting room and started talking to the three guys who work there. They all started talking to me, telling me I reminded them of their abuela, their grandmothers. And it was the most fascinating thing. I picked their brains for their stories. They told me where they came from, how they started studying chocolate in school, and how much they loved chocolate. And they were, beyond knowledgeable. Sweetest, most wonderful, kindest people in the world. I have to tell you, the people here, they're outstanding. I wish that sweet nature, that acceptance, that love, we can transplant that into our world in the United States. So that's some of the things I want to talk about on my channel when I do my Costa Rica videos, because it's something that tourists don't talk about. And there's a lot of things to be talked about right now. Like right now, Backstabber Bridge is closed, or the bridge I used to call the Friendship of Taiwan. Locals call it Backstabber Bridge because after the Taiwanese spent millions of dollars building this bridge, a year or two later, Costa Rica said, we're no longer recognizing you. We're going to recognize China now. And when they recognized China, China put together $1 billion soccer stadium for them. So the locals call the bridge Backstabber Bridge. Well, they've neglected it so long here that they're having to rebuild it. So it's closed. And it's the main hub between the over the Gulf of Nicoya. And I live in the little peninsula there, coming off this side of the Gulf here, and then the rest of Costa Rica. So in order for me to get anywhere, damn close to anywhere, at least south of here, that's not on the peninsula, I have to cross Backstabber Bridge. It's closed right now. You know what they're using? They are using ferries. And while that's not a problem, there's always been a ferry that's run between Punta Arenas and various places. I understand right now it's problematic that if you don't book your ticket days in advance. You won't get across on the ferry. And there's long wait times. It's increased the already 5 or 6 hours it takes you to get to San Jose by a lot more. And the only way to avoid it is to go north to Liberia and then due south another hour, hour and a half out of your way, at least 2 hours. So those are the things that we need to talk about here because too many people show up for vacation or to be an expat here and they don't consider those things. They don't consider these wonderful people have a very much slower pace of life and they do things very differently. The thought processes are different. If you don't take care of the thought processes, this is all going to go haywire. I have a big story about that based upon a big story I told a couple of weeks ago about some expats I ran into here. So I'm probably going to do that maybe for later today or tomorrow because it's a long, crazy story. And it fits into what I was just talking about. I was going to say, let me go ahead and stop that and see if I can figure out how to put together a pictorial display because I've taken some pretty crazy pictures off Backstabber Bridge that you guys probably should see. And just go from there. One thing I like about that area around the bridge, when you get to Limonal, which is the next little town on Route 1, where Route 18 and Route 1 collide after you go over the bridge by quite a ways, and you take your right-hand turn onto Route 1 to go to San Jose, right there at that intersection is a large flock of blue macaws. And I discovered that during COVID. COVID helped all the animals in this area to rebound. And it was the first time I'd seen blue macaws. I'd been told there were blue macaws only on the Caribbean side. Not so. There's some in Limonal. And they are really funny to watch there. They like to nose through the dumpster over there by the subway in Limonal. Okay, I need to quit ranting about Costa Rica. I love Costa Rica. I love living here. I don't care for many of the touristy kind of things because it kind of exploits the local people. It exploits the tourists. There are ways to come here and do it rather economically. And then they're showing up and paying $600 a night for your hotel room. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I guess everybody has to do the thing that they were born to do. And we just have to accept them as they are. Here I am preaching to myself again, even though I'm judging these people for spending all that money on something like that. I didn't get to where I am in life by wasting dough. Okay, you guys, I will see you later.